So this is a little addendum to the recent video about treating for big and small impairments, even the ones that you don't think were very important. I'm going to just read directly from the Code of Federal Regulations as to why keeping it to yourself is not going to be helpful, and no one's going to assume or be able to use it to your benefit if you don't have follow-up on it. And how much follow-up will obviously be very case specific. So you're going to want to speak to your attorney about that. But let me just read something off to you. Your impairments must result from anatomical, physiological, or psychological abnormalities that can be shown by medically acceptable clinical and laboratory diagnostic techniques. Therefore, a physical or mental impairment must be established by objective medical evidence from an acceptable medical source. And by the way, those are all specifically defined in the regulations, defined. We will, and this is the clincher here, we will not use your statement of symptoms, a diagnosis, or a medical opinion to establish the existence of an impairment. It is after they establish that you have the medically determinable impairment that they then go on to the next step in the sequential process, evaluation process, to determine whether the impairment is severe. And then after it is severe, how severe is it? And is it of such a level as to, alone or in combination with other severe or non-severe impairments, render you unable to perform any of the 12,000 jobs in the national or regional economy. So just let me emphasize that again. We will not use your statement of symptoms, a diagnosis, or a medical opinion to establish the existence of an impairment. Okay. Now they can, by the way, after they've gotten those medically confirmed diagnoses done the acceptable way under the rules of evidence here, when they have those impairments carved in stone and they're looking about to learn about the severity, yes, they can consider medical and non-medical evidence after that, including your own statements. But they say elsewhere, and I wonder if I have that here. Yeah, here we go, in a different section on the SSA.gov website. So this is from the horse's mouth, not from the Code of Federal Regulations, but both are very important. It is important that medical sources address these factors in the reports they provide in assessing the claimant's pain or other symptoms. Again, it is important that medical sources address these factors in the reports they provide. So while you have to have medical source evidence to get the diagnosis as a medically determinable impairment, they will also be able to consider non-medical evidence, such as your own statements, your grandpa's statement, and anything else, to determine how severe it is. But they still emphasize right here in black and white that it is important that medical sources address these factors, those severity factors. They are going to be your strongest, generally speaking, your strongest form of evidence of how severe it is. They are mandatory to even find a diagnosis, and they are the only ones that can make for a diagnosis. Grandpa can't do that for us. But they are also considered in high regard when it comes to severity. But also can be considered, and I consider it the gravy, is all the other statements and non-medical evidence that's what we do a lot of work to get as well. So you can't just have the small impairments. You have to have them followed. I realize they might not be followed as much as the big impairments because they're not troubling you as much. And if there is, quote, nothing that they can do for it, that's not really relevant for the legal question. It is there ongoing durational evidence that you have it and that you continue to have it. So when we stop treating for that small thing because it's a little inconvenient and we're busy taking care of the bigger things, it does show a big gap that is more often than not going to be interpreted as it has improved because you haven't felt such a need to follow up with it. So maybe it doesn't hurt so bad anymore or limit you so much. Okay. So just wanted to add that little bit. There's a lot of people aren't happy that they have to go to the doctor so much. I get it, particularly when you have really big, bad, painful, life-altering other things going on with the body or the mind. But our job is to get you to win your case. You know, you have a window of opportunity with a Social Security disability case that for most people will be closing. That window will be closing. And once it closes, you will eventually have no ability to file again. Okay. When it closes, you absolutely have less avenues for gaining evidence. But there also comes a time when you have no legal availability to even file a claim that will be taken. So you have to take it seriously from the start if you want it to win, because you might just snooze, you lose, and never be able to file. And what that will do to your retirement benefit is a whole nother story. If you don't win your disability, for the vast majority of people, I'd say it will cause a serious reduction in their retirement for not having taken disability if they don't go back to work. Okay. We can talk more about that another day. Have a great night.